Since 1812, Spain's El Gordo lottery has been delivering Christmas joy to a few lucky winners every year. But does it actually have an effect on Spain's economy? And why? Hi, Evie, welcome.
Hi, Tim.
Evie, this is all about a lottery called El Gordo, isn't it? How big are the prizes in this Spanish lottery? How important is the tradition of El Gordo?
Well, El Gordo means the fatty. So you can imagine we're talking about big money here. So the lottery distributes around 3 billion euros in prizes, the Christmas lottery. And the three top prizes, they usually have like a winning ticket like that costs 20 euros. And the winning prizes, they get 400,000 euros per each ticket. The second prize is around 125,000 euros, and the last prize is 50,000 euros. Now, what happens is that on average, in the sample that we have, there are like 1,700 decimals, which is like small numbers of the same series, which means that 1,700 individuals win 400,000 euros. Now, we don't look only at the first prize, like Gordo, but we look also at the second and third prize. So you can imagine that, these add up to significant numbers. Moreover, what the Spanish do is that they like to share the prize. So the best prize is to share. That's actually the slogan of the campaign. So which means that maybe many people share one ticket. So you have more than one winner of 400,000, which is like divided by 10, let's say, if it's like a family or like some gym or something like that.
And is this why you can identify that as a regional shock to GDP, which is amazing for a lottery win? How big is this shock?
Yeah, actually, what happens here is that every lottery outlet usually sells the whole series of numbers, which means that the lottery is kind of geographically located. So the winners are geographically located. And these can represent, like in the sample that we have, something like 0.2% of GDP on average. But like in kind of like the very big maximum lottery winners, this can be like up to 2.9% of the provision GDP. So that's a lot of money.
It is an enormous amount of money. Yeah. Now, how many people in the region on average then are sharing this prize money?
Actually, I cannot tell you exactly how many people, but I can talk to you about probabilities. I think people understand that very well. So like on average, if we look at the whole Spain, the probability of winning the prize is very small. It's like 0.007%. Like that's a very small number. But if we look like at the winning province, it's a bit bigger. It's like around 0.015%. But still, all this, what it says is that very few people will get the lottery prize at the end, even within the region.
Yes, and so even with those prizes being shared, as you say, it's very few people within the region. Why are the aggregate effects so big?
Well, this is a matter of interpretation. So the way we interpret that is that the effects on the GDP and on the unemployment that we see, they're actually coming from sentiment. So what happens is that when a province wins, it's all over the newspapers. Like we won the Gordo, so it's like there is some increase in sentiment from the part of the people. And this increase in sentiment is actually kind of pushing demand, like through the animal spirits kind of framework. And this is what generates like the stimulus, both in terms of output and in terms of inflation.
Now, you also find out in the paper that it seems to increase employment. I don't understand why that would be. Are people that win the lottery starting up businesses or something?
No, I don't think it comes from there. So it is a very Keynesian story to say it in economics term. So what happens is that we won the lottery. I become optimistic. I become optimistic about the state of the economy, how the economy is going to evolve. I become optimistic about my labor market outcomes in the future. So what I do is that I reduce my precautionary savings, and this kind of stimulates demand. So this optimism is actually working through like a demand channel that has to do more with consumption relative to like entrepreneurial activity. And some of this might also take place, but like according to what we see in the data, it is kind of mostly precautionary savings and like increases in consumption demand.
Yes, now this consumption, what kind of consumption is it? What are people buying when they're more optimistic?
Actually, we do have individual level data, so we can look like at what people, we have data on durable consumption. So we can see like what people spend their money on. And actually we have like different categories. And what we find is like after a lottery, what really increases after like a region wins the lottery prize is actually furniture and motorbikes and vehicles. So that is where the money is spent. And actually, I wanted to be a little bit more precise because I think it's very important. It is not the whole population that behaves the same. So we have a specific part of the population that kind of is stimulated by this kind of lottery wins, and it's mostly young people, so between 18 and 35 years old.
I see. Now, when I read about this sent me running back to my textbooks. And so I was looking at Milton Friedman on the permanent income hypothesis that, of course, we all learn about in economics. And that hypothesis is the correlation between the transitory components of income and consumption is zero. Well, this is a transitory income and the consumption's gone up. So this seems to be pretty strong argument against that hypothesis, doesn't it?
Well, I mean, indeed, in theory, when individuals get some income, they try to cancel out through their savings. And that is like, basically, we're saying that they are operating on their Euler equation. However, we have some individuals that sometimes they don't operate on their Euler equation. And this is because they are liquidity constrained. So now look at our results. I just told you that it is young individuals that kind of react to the shock. And these are usually the people that they are mostly liquidity constrained. And actually they don't have also access to finance. They don't have any credit history. So the shock comes, they find their chance, and they're going to increase their consumption, whether this comes from the fact that they want some money or because they think that now they will be able to get employed and be able to get a loan for whatever they want to purchase, whether this is a bike or a car or some furniture.
Finally, Evie, you do mention in the paper that you think El Gordo might have usefulness for policymakers. Now, I don't see why that would be unless the policymakers fix who wins so they could target the right region. You're not suggesting that, are you?
No, not at all. Actually, the government should not be concerned with who wins the lottery. From the government's perspective, the lottery is important as a means to voluntarily increase tax revenues. And this has a long history. Like if we look like back in the Roman times or in Renaissance Europe, they were building lotteries in order to raise money for churches, for example. But like even like the Spanish Christmas lottery, it started as a way to finance the war against Napoleon. So in 1812. So all I want to say is that, you know, the government should not care about who wins the lottery. The government should care to increase tax revenues. And this is an effective way. And we can also see it like in different US states, they're using state lotteries to actually finance some of their expenditures. And if you think about governments that they're reluctant like in increasing like tax revenues through taxation, I think lottery is a very good idea. I mean, on average, like in our sample, lotteries is something like 0.3% of total tax revenues. It is not negligible. It is not too big, but some expenses can be actually financed through the lotteries. And I think that in particular, this particular lottery, this Spanish Christmas lottery, has the right ingredient, because apart from the fact that you are increasing like tax revenues, you at the same time can stimulate demand in some region. And moreover, in the time that you need it, because we saw in the paper that this is more stimulative during recessions. So it is probably a way to catch two birds with one shot. So you increase tax revenues and then you kind of make some people happy, and this stimulates their demand regionally without actually crowding out in the other regions or like creating any negative spillovers. So it kind of makes sense.
It really does. Thank you very much, Evie. This is a great piece of, it's economics, but also social research into what the real world is like and how people really behave. So thank you very much for talking about it.
Thanks to you for inviting me. It was great to talk to you.
The paper's called The Sentimental Propagation of Lottery Winnings, Evidence from the Spanish Christmas Lottery. And the authors are Morteza Gomi, Isabel Miko Milan, and Evie Papa. It is discussion paper 17173 at CEPR, and you can download it using the link that's on screen now. Well, thanks for watching. We'll see you soon.